Yo Joes, time for another history lesson, and we're looking at one of the landmark years of G.I. Joe, 1985. That year had a record number of single-carded figures released, another point of articulation added to the already fantastic design of the figure, and saw the release of the biggest playset ever made, the most gorgeous grail to ever set sail.
She's a beauty, all right.
85 was a big year all around. 14 Joe vehicles and playsets were released, and 9 Cobra vehicles and playsets, along with 18 carded figures and a carded 2-pack, compared to the previous year's 11 single-carded figures. The Joes received a new set of wheels to burn rubber in with the Awe Striker.
Let's get out of here, fast.
One of the most fun outdoor toys ever made in the 80s. The cool thing about this dune buggy was that in addition to the vroom-vrooming across the ground, this baby also had working suspension for when your ground troops wanted to catch some air. And like the Vamp, the Awe Striker housed a cannon for offense. And it came with a figure too, Crankcase, one of the rare Joes to never have a line in the cartoon, even though he appeared occasionally. Another super fun toy for outside was the Bridge Leia. Which I can attest to because I just took it out a few months ago for a Toys Gone Wild review, and had a blast building bridges over crevasses and ravines. And you better believe every time I deployed that folding bridge, I gave a hearty,
And away we go!
like Tollbooth, the figure that was included with the bridge layer. 1985 was the year of upgrades, so the Mobat got one too. The second motorized Joe tank was released.
Far out! You found the Mauler!
Yeah man, it took forever to track one down. Now I love my fur babies, but one of them has a tendency to, well, regurgitate all over the place, which isn't very pleasant to find in the 80s toy museum. So the Mauler helps with keeping the border secure.
This baby will keep him from violating your space, man.
And it included Heavy Metal, a tank commander who found it pretty easy to be brave at the wheel of this treaded titan.
Heavy Metal to Breaker, we're going in.
The Great White North got some treads of their own with the Snowcat. G.I. Joe's Arctic half-track that was the favorite of any kid lucky enough to get snow for the winter. And G.I. Joe added to their Arctic forces with Frostbite.
We're polar troops.
To keep Snowjob company up north.
Not me.
Sorry, Snowjob. Looks like you're on your own as usual. And for families that couldn't afford the larger vehicles, smaller rigs were also available. If you couldn't afford one of the larger tanks, the Armadillo was deployed. A one-man mini-tank that still packed quite a wallop. And could transport a few Joes on the back too. Anniversary edition standing in for the vintage one here.
Now what?
Another upgrade. It's pretty hard to improve upon perfection, but the Silver Mirage tried to do just that with the Ram Cycle. This bodacious bike had so many pieces that it seemed more like a model kit than a toy. It had a sidecar with gun, and was also armed with rockets to make it fast and deadly. And not all Joe vehicles in 85 were offensive. The bomb disposal vehicle was released to safely remove ordnance. And ever wonder how all those missiles and bombs got onto all those vehicles? Well, before Sergeant Slaughter and the Fridge showed up to carry them one-armed, the Joes needed the weapon transport to arm their vehicles, like keeping the Wolverine fully stocked with 8 missiles, or 10, or 12 for you all-or-nothing types. And Joe wasn't always on the go. Some playsets were released so they could hunker down and dig in like an Alabama tick. 85 saw 2 Joe battle stations, the Air Defense Missile Launcher and Checkpoint Alpha, and a pair of battlefield accessories in the Ammo Dump Unit and the Forward Observer. G.I. Joe took to the sea for their 2 large-size playsets. There was the Tactical Battle Platform, an oil rig-like facility that featured a landing pad for Skyhawks and helicopters, a retractable hook, and missiles and cannons to fend off Cobra attacks. And the other large playset? Well, I think simply calling it large is an understatement.
Yeah, about the size of an aircraft carrier.
It's the USS Flagg aircraft carrier. I did an in-depth video on my ultimate USS Flagg with custom base a while back, so I'll just skip this ship.
I'm most interested in seeing the USS Flagg in action.
Okay, we'll take another look for those who can't get enough Flagg. Now, in that previous video I did, I had to do it in the 80s toy museum because the Flagg was just too big to fit through the doorway. What I wished I could have done was take it out to the high seas for a sail.
Well, that's just what we're gonna do.
Whoa, now that's where this ship belongs, on the high seas. Sky Strikers never looked prettier than on the flight deck.
Ready on flight deck?
Let's go, team!
And as I've said before, and I'll say again, anyone who compares the Flagg to a glorified coffee table has never compared having their Sky Striker take off from a coffee table to taking off of the USS Flagg. And the Flagg wasn't just a parking spot for aircraft. She could handle herself in battle just as well as Scarlet or CoverGirl. 3 cannons were mounted around the ship to fend off any air or sea attackers.
I'll have my gunners open fire.
And this launcher, featuring 6 giant missiles, made sure Cobra kept their distance. The superstructure also provided places for Joes to communicate and strategize their next special mission. And the included figure, the respected military historian, nationally rated chess player, and possibly the world's worst clarinet player, Admiral Everett Keelhaul Colby. And if you're feeling keen, you can build a custom base on wheels like this one to make it a bit more maneuverable, and have a place to store some of your land vehicles.
I still don't know how you did it.
The USS Flagg represents a benchmark, not just for G.I. Joe, but for all toys. What's possible when not only the demand is high enough, but the passion for the brand. Nothing like it has been seen since, and may never be seen again. If you were one of the little admirals who got to helm this stunning ship back in '85, or if she sailed into your life years later, never forget how lucky you are. Treat her right, and she'll always bring your troops home safe and sound. Cobra got their tails wet in '85 as well with a couple of boats of their own. There was the night landing for those sneaking missions in the dark, and the Cobra Moray hydrofoil. Although I have all of the Joe figures and vehicles from '82 to '86, I'm missing quite a few of the Cobra items because, well, I'm not made of money. It would cost roughly $60 billion to own every single item ever created in the 80s.
Where do you expect us to get $60 billion?
But you can still get a 360 view of the items I don't have thanks to 3D Joes.
I've planned for all possibilities.
Big shout out to Carson Metaxas for the top secret footage, which you can check out yourself anytime on 3djoes.com. And the Moray included one of Cobra's elite naval force, the Lamprey. Cobra could go off-roading too with the Ferret, an ATV so fast and stealthy it actually got the jump on Snake Eyes one time. And some more air support with the Flight Pod, affectionately known as
Trouble Bubbles!
These small fighters could be deployed from hidden locations like a tree. Although their compact size did present some comfort issues.
I don't know. I think it's rather cozy for a bubble.
And the Snakes finally got a plastic playset. The Cobra Bunker? Well, a mini playset, but it's a start. There was also the rifle range unit, which was a complete waste of time since Cobra couldn't hit the broadside of an aircraft carrier. And the rest of Cobra's artillery for '85 were recolors. The Snake armor was released in dark blue, and Sears got a pair of exclusive recolors, the SMS, Sentry and Missile System was a redeco of the Cobra Hiss tank and the G.I. Joe MMS, and another Joe design was borrowed for the Cat, the Crimson Attack Tank, a black recolor of the Mobat. Battle Gear Pack number 3 hit the pegs, featuring recolors of weapons and gear from previous years to replace all the ones lost in outside missions or in the couch. And 85 saw another mail-away exclusive available with Flagg points with the Parachute Pack, a backpack that could be strapped to Joes and allow them to safely eject from exploding aircraft, similar to the parachute included with the Sky Striker. Even though the design of the Joe bodies was already more advanced than anything else on the toy shelves, Hasbro added yet another point of articulation, this time giving the heads a ball joint that allowed them to look up and down in addition to left and right, making the best action figures even better. The theme of 85 was biggest ever, and the Flagg wasn't the only gigantic thing about the team. 11 single-carded Joes were released.
We're with, G.I. Joe.
The biggest recruitment up to that point, branching out to even more specialties. For the truly funky messes that Cobra would make, Airtight was brought in, the hostile environment specialist.
I suggest you leave the handling of deadly substances to experts like me.
Good idea, Kurt. To ensure Cobra didn't get the high ground, the mountain trooper Alpine would scale the highest, most narrow rock faces.
Ain't that exciting?
No.
Why you said that?
Falling.
Oh, well, don't worry, we won't do that part.
In case one of Blowtorch's fires got out of hand, Gabriel Kelly was brought in.
Don't go out that door!
It's barbecue!
Who felt right at home in the middle of an inferno.
Oh, my hand!
The team got a new bazooka trooper with this Rhodes Scholar.
Bazooka, we need some support here.
You got it!
Joe designer Ron Rudat was honored with this desert trooper who was always eager to rescue a damsel in distress.
Who are you?
Just think of me as your hero!
The surname was spelled backward on the file card, but was correct in the Sunbow animated series. Dusty was also a landmark figure in that he was the first to feature cloth, a piece attached to the back of his helmet to keep the sun from scorching the back of his neck, but not impede his head movement. G.I. Joe believed in keeping the chain of command ever growing, so a warrant officer was recruited.
I'm the commanding officer.
He was under Duke in the hierarchy of G.I. Joe commanders, but since old Sergeant Hauser couldn't keep himself from getting captured so frequently, it seemed Flint ended up honchoing more missions in 85 than Duke.
Looks like I'm in charge now.
And most Joe fans would agree he was a worthy addition and a great leader figure. More of a John Wayne style than Duke, ironically. A bit more volume and bravado than the Master Sergeant, and included one of my favorite Joe weapons, his green I-12 Riot shotgun. Great for hunting snakes.
Flint to group. Follow me in, and good hunting.
Footloose was like a far-out practitioner of dudism, man.
See, everything is everything.
And was filled with inspirational wisdom that Jeffrey Lebowski would dig.
All things must pass. Just keep on keeping on.
And the third female Joe hit the pegs in 85.
Joe!
Lady J was always eager to crush some cobras under her boots.
Let's stomp on him.
Before Junkions were talking TV, this martial artist,
Codename Quick Kick.
was quoting all of your favorite shows.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Got a problem, Pilgrim?
All while putting feet to faces. And you can't have an aircraft carrier without a sailor, right?
Codename Shipwreck.
But he wasn't just a sailor.
Shipwreck's a crook!
No, Polly, that's not what I was gonna say. With the Joe's female forces growing, there was bound to be someone to step forward as the designated ladies' man of the team.
Let's you and I get together.
Let's not!
Ah, give me a break.
With pleasure.
He may not have been a pilot, but he crashed and burned more times than Ace and Wild Weasel combined. And 85 saw the first entirely new remake of an existing figure in a new outfit, not just a recolor. Snake Eyes took a step away from Commando and a step towards Ninja with this iconic look that featured a sword and his loyal wolf, Timber, who had a taste for snakes. One of the hardest figures to track down in '85, and one of the more valuable figures today. This visor version of Snake Eyes is one of the most sought-after figures by many Joe fans, despite very little color and even less words.
My friend here is a man of action, not words.
Sometimes less is more. And last, and in many Joe's fans' eyes, least, was a recolor of Tripwire who came with a Listen and Fun cassette. Why?
Frankly, I don't know.
I remember seeing this thing when it came out and thinking it was a knockoff, not an official G.I. Joe item, despite the Hasbro emblem and the Joe logo. It also seemed odd to do a straight-up repaint of Tripwire. In such a gnarly color scheme to boot, he looked more like a Cobra than a Joe. Why not mix and match parts from different figures?
And come up with something completely new.
7 baddies were released on card along with the first 2-pack.
The Crimson Twins!
Cobra's version of the Corsican brothers. They had the mystic ability to feel each other's pain, as well as the mystic ability to get on Cobra Commander's nerves.
You twin twats!
But what he loved about them was their checkbook. These guys were loaded and supplied Cobra with countless new soldiers, the Crimson Guardsmen. It was an army builder year for Cobra as fans stocked up on eels. Snow Serpents had no problem beating a hasty retreat on ice. And the Televipers kept Cobra on the TV screens around the world years before YouTube. And these guys.
Great. We just went from the sewer up to the toilet.
Zartan got himself a gang with this trio of tactless troublemakers.
The Dreadnoks.
These blokes preferred to raise mayhem with something other than bullets and lasers.
And they're ugly, too.
There was Buzzer, whose chainsaw could carve up tanks like a can of sardines.
Gladly, mate.
The aptly named Ripper.
Impossible. Like it was a sardine.
And the too hot to handle Torch.
My turn now!
These hooligans were a welcome addition to the regular dynamic of soldiers versus terrorists, and make for some of the most entertaining cosplay in the Joe community.
Hey, you blokes, we got fans!
And that's the history of G.I. Joe 1985 edition. Thanks again to 3D Joes for filling in the 360 gaps in my collection. Check out their website if you'd like to virtually enjoy all of your original Joe and Cobra figures and vehicles. Shout out to the Patreon tribe. Thank you so much for your support and for making videos like this one possible. Got a Joe memory? Scroll down and go to town. Give the video a share if you enjoyed it, and to join the tribe, hit subscribe.
This has been fun, but we better split.
Avast, you scallywags! Anchors away!